He's like a protective brother. We had a very close relationship because he was the first boy and I'm the last of the youngest. He wasn't a perfect person, but he struggled to do better. I looked up to him and I knew if he was around that nothing would happen. He was a son, he was a brother, he was a father and a friend. And I don't think that comes out too much in anybody's conversation as to who he really was. I met James in the 9th grade when I went to high school. He loved playing in the band. He loved being friendly, meeting friends. He didn't do any harm to anybody. The harm that he did, I guess, drinking, he did it to himself.
A 49-year-old father is murdered in a shocking crime. Police say he was tied to a truck and dragged until he died in a hate crime killing.
And I just imagine that night, James probably just couldn't believe this actually finna happen to him. He can talk about anything, but at one point he had to realize that it's not gonna happen this time. That someone took matters in their own hand and said, oh, your loved one is not important enough to live, and so we're gonna take him away because he was born black. And if he was a white man that day, he'd be still alive. He'd be 70-something years old by now. When you go to a cemetery, you still feel like he's not free because he is in a cage because of hate. Hate killed him, and hate is still causing him not to be free as he lay in peace. He's great. He's been desecrated twice. Maybe one day we'll feel safe to take the fence down.
It's a difficult subject, but I think it's one we need to come to terms with.
One of the main arguments we try to make in this field of study is that lynching was not an aberration in the South, that was seeded into the society and that it was common. Between 1882 and 1901, there were at least 100 people lynched every year, which means it was in the paper constantly as a reminder, white, black, Hispanic, and other people, what could happen. With James Byrd, it's a little bit different. By the 1980s, lynching had largely ended. It harkened back to an earlier era in American history. But East Texas was the most violent place in Texas, largely because it was a historical recreation of the South. So the deep-seated racism from the earlier era of Texas history has continued into modern Texas.
Systemic racism, the legacies are many.
I was a radio personality on KJAS radio station in Jasper, Texas.
For KJAS Radio News.
A listener of mine called and told myself they had found a part of a human body. Bureau approached our home and knocked on the door, and usually when a police officer you've never seen before come to your door on your side of town, it's nothing good. And we can see it in his face. He said, we found out that the body was your son, James Byrd Jr.
When I heard on the radio about finding a body on the Huff Creek Road, there was something about it that just didn't sound right. As I was going in, I could see these marks in the road. If you can picture somebody behind the boat skiing, and the boat turns left, and then the skier will go right. As the curve went to the left, the body came around to the right, went off the road, hit in a culvert, and the body was, the left shoulder and the head came off there. And they continued dragging the body. It was well over 2 miles that we walked following this thing.
What really keys in is how long that was, how long that trail was. Sheriff Rolls, and he's one of the best bosses I've ever had in my life. Just general public, you saw him on the news, say, yeah, it's Billy Rolls, he's got his Tabasco tie and his cowboy hat, but he brought in the federal intervention, state intervention, said, hey, we need some help.
That's when Chief Byrd Rolls came in and he told us the details. The chain came off and they had opportunity to say, you know what, enough is enough. He's still alive, let him just go. But they were so determined that they rechained him up, and elbows was all the way to the bone, trying to protect his arm. I mean, he was still fighting. And I don't really recognize him as James because his dentures. I guess when the cameras was there, I was proud of Jasper to come together. People from white communities would bring us food, but when the cameras left, they all went back to their corner like it was before.
And a lot of people were afraid because in Jasper, we don't have, or we didn't have, transportation like we do in the city. A lot of the people there had to walk. And so if I get caught out there by myself, what's going to happen? Am I going to be another statistic as James Byrd was?
They wanted justice. They wanted James Byrd to have justice for what was done to him.
We got justice. Black people don't get justice. And even justice don't heal. So just to put things in perspective, it's not only Jasper, it's everywhere. People say if you don't talk about it, it didn't happen. And so now we've got a new generation in Jasper. They probably never heard the word James Byrd. I understand people have their own lives and things like that. I don't expect them to change dramatically. But it's like the town step back and let people find their own way. And I didn't see any participants for us trying to keep this town together like it was that day. Because at first I didn't talk at all. My sisters was talking because I didn't know how to process it. Sometimes you don't have the words to say to anybody because it hurt so deeply. And then one person asked him the question. She said, "You don't want to talk? You don't want to talk for James because his voice is silent now. You're the only voice he had." And that rang the bell that James can't talk. I know he could. He would talk for me.